All right, everyone. I want to welcome you to Roderick's Martin High Strangeness, and we got a great show for you tonight. First of all, you could have been any other place tonight, but you chose to be right here, right now. And with that being said, I'm going to serve you. And as always, how we're going to do that is the question. So we strive to be the boldest, baffling, belligerent YouTube channel in the world, creating captivating conversations that'll certainly cause controversy, and tonight is no different. We're going to be talking about that third eye, which you always hear me tell you, your eyes are useless when your mind is blind, as well as the shirt, and we are talking about that third eye. So make sure you go to the website and get your shirt, whythebigsecret.com. Look for the merchandise. But in the meantime, the question is going to always be, have you ever felt that deep intuition? And if you have, we could be talking about that pineal gland. We could be talking about that third eye. But is there caution when it comes down to that? Let me get into that right about now. So in the meantime, like I said, sit back. We're going to have a little detailed conversation, and maybe, possibly, some of you may join in to give your opinion on the subject matter. And your experience is what I'm looking for as well. But in the meantime, I just want to say good evening, good morning, and good afternoon. And wherever else you may be in those 24 time zones that this show airs. And like I said, have you ever had this deep intuition or gut feeling that seems to come from what I call beyond logic? You know, oftentimes we get these feelings, we get these thoughts, and we're trying to figure out where it comes from. All right, and then you hear some people say it's my guardian angels, or maybe it's my spirit guides, or all of the different of above. It could be a lot of fascinating things happening, but could it be that you have at some point activated that third eye? Now, we talk about it within the conscious community as though it's a, I don't know, it could be some type of award, or maybe it could be some type of special gift. But what if everybody, and I think we can say that, has the ability to activate this third eye? But the question is, should everybody do this? Because I think oftentimes as we look to see that maybe this is the perfect place to be, we're going to talk about it tonight. There may be some cautions, and I think there are a few cautions that should be thought about prior to doing this, because it's not just you're thinking you're going to be smarter and have a little more heightened awareness. You may see some things that you don't want to see. And as our tagline at the show is, you may not believe it. So anyway, I just want to welcome each and every one of you tonight. And so I'm not going to claim to be a specialist on the third eye. I'm not going to say that I understand all of this. I'm still learning and walking the walk with the rest of you. And so I'll give you some details. I'll give you some things, but I am going to talk about it from a perspective that I think is something that we want to discuss here in our community as truth seekers, as well as high strangeness when it gets down to some of these questions. Now, for those of you who may be beginners at this and want to know what is the third eye in simple terms, I will say that it's like an energy centered, associated with intuition, insight, and spiritual awareness. And that's about me just summing it up for you in my notes here to make it simple for those of us who saying, okay, we're doing this. Now, I'm not saying that everybody sitting here has gotten their awakening or know how or have opened their third eye at some point. But if you have, then congratulations to you. But then there's also a form of ego and arrogance to this too that I've noticed and have come across within our community when people who have claimed to have done this, because what you think may make them wiser actually amplify something within themselves that they already was, and that was pure assholes. And so, excuse my French, but that could be the real scenario here. But that's okay. I'm not saying that there's not some good folks out there that understands the concept. But again, where is it located? Right here. Right here between both eyes is what we call the pineal gland, and it's the space between the eyebrows, if you just kind of want to know that. Now, in our culture, it does have a high significance and the importance in various spiritual traditions, like you got Hinduism, Buddhism, and so there's a lot of different spirituality that really put a lot of focus on the third eye. And once again, as we get deeper into our conversations tonight, there may be some things that stick out to you to say, okay, Roderick, why is this? And say, hey, should I open my third eye? And that's the title of the video, because I will say proceed with caution, seriously. And I'm not saying it as too scare tactic or anything else, but I just don't think it's not possible that it's something that everyone should try to achieve, because some people may not be able to handle it or overhandle it, or maybe perceive it as some superpower, and all of a sudden now they become unmanageable, and versus them managing a new lifestyle from this. And if I'm wrong, correct me. And if I'm right, give me some shout outs in the chat when it comes down to this. We're going to question some of the things tonight. We want what words and images come to mind when you think of the third eye. I would love for you guys to interact with this conversation, place it in the chat. And the question is, what type of words or what images come to mind right now when you hear me or we are talking about the context or conversation of the third eye? So I would literally like to see where you got what you think about that. And so we'll get into that. We'll talk about again the cultural significance. Now, as I go deeper into the cultural significance, I think it's really important to say that every culture, no matter what the religious sector is, at some point have delved into the possibilities that the third eye even exists. And there's probably people walking around who will hear you say something like that and say, what are you talking about? Why should we do this? Anthony says inner demons might scare them and everyone ain't ready. And okay, so we'll go with that. And thank you for participating with the question. And I should have more and more people, because I know a lot of you in here in our community have knowledge and talks about this. And so therefore, where are you when I look over here in my chat? And I'm not going to call some of y'all out like the body electric supplement and all these people who I know and should be giving me some context. And I'm just using that for example. And I don't think anybody in the chat is named body electric supplement anyway. So I'm just saying, if there was someone who went by that name, Monica or something, I know she'll be giving some input. But anyway, so what I'm saying is words or images come to mind to you when you think about this. And what do you say about that? How do you feel about that? And, when should you use it? Is it necessary? Is it something that it should be open and used at all times? Is it coming out of maturity level? As you can see, she's saying some of her students and their young kids are having context and conversations about the third eye. And so we'll get into a lot of that a little bit. And so I got some little notes here and some stuff that I can kind of go into. But they're also saying the third eye is referred to as the pineal gland, the mind's eye, the single eye. It's the center of the brain, is the pineal gland or whatever, which encapsulate pure consciousness. Now, misinterpreting the pineal gland as posing all the mystical qualities is a mistake. The gland is not literally third eye. It serves as the reflection or the symbol of that organ within the body. So the genuine power of the gland lies its spiritual counterpart, not physical, but the third eye isn't visible to the regular sight, but shows itself to the clairvoyant or as a colorful aura around the gland glowing with electric light. So those are the things that I will say when it comes down to this from there. Now, there's a guy, H.P. Buskaski is his name. He says the brain perceives the organ in the aura of the pineal gland, and this aura responds to the vibration, but can only be felt, not seen, in living people. And when thinking, the constant vibrations happens in the aura. A clairvoyant can, almost see the 7 scales of light in the brain from dim to bright. And so once again, you're supposed to be able to see all the spectrums of light when it comes down to this. And Stepdaddy says, before anyone searches for inner powers, they should work on being a better friend, lover, or all-around person. And I could say that because I think that at the point when I put proceed with caution, because I think as I start learning more, then I'm like, either it's going to amplify who you are. It's almost like money, the power of money. You know, people that begin to run across money and people say, oh, they're an asshole now. And basically, no, money amplified what they already were in some cases. And so therefore they can do that. Rainbow Light says, Roderick, I think the third eye is maybe just intuition, like listening to your body. Monica says Pinot has crystals in it, just like your mobile phones activated. All right. So once again, we're going to get into that. So how, what they're saying is that the mind dwelling in the pineal gland is a physic or psychic center, serving as the intelligence that governs the physical body when it comes down to this. So the brain, when you think about it, is linked to an electrical computer responsible for interpreting and implementing the commands and instructions issued by the mind. And so the third eye, or mind, is what they're calling, has the ability to portray the spiritual planes that lie beyond perception of the two physical eyes. That I always say your eyes are useless when the mind is blind. And see, oftentimes I use that in context of dealing with what we call everyday society. But when you start thinking about when I put this together in the shirt and all this other stuff, it really is. And like I say, the pineal gland, the mind, the third eye, part of the mind. This eye is useless. Now, if you go back to Project Black, you will see that our logo has a third eye, actually has an eye open, but it's really the eye raw is sitting in there. But it all still has some symbolic meanings that eventually that we will get into. The brain is linked to an electrical computer, like I said, responsible for interpreting and implementing the commands and instructions issued by the mind. And the third eye, mind, just like I just said, has the ability to portray spiritual planes. Now, some would say, well, Roderick, how are we going to activate this? Now, we'll talk about that in a few minutes, but I'll get detail into a few other things when it comes down to the third eye. And that is, what are some of the things that, why should you activate it? All right. And these are just some not hypothetical things. These are some of my ideas and stuff, but why should you activate the third eye? And we'll get into that. And then we'll get into some of the potential challenges of it. Well, what else can be seen, like the shadow side, because there is a shadow side that I think is where most people don't or are not told when they begin to try to activate this, and they think it's so cool, and they're watching some of the people saying, oh, you got to open your third eye, and they're like, man, I got to open it. Maybe it's going to help me, live through life. Maybe it's going to help me navigate through things. And the question is, should you open that eye, or activate it? I'm going to use in term, not the word open. But the benefits is supposedly at some point is enhanced intuition and decision making. Now, you want to tap into your gut feelings and inner wisdom, leading to better choices and a stronger sense of self-trust. And those are some of the premises that confidence, right, and competence and all of these things that a person goes through life. And sometimes they're told by other people that they don't possess this, or maybe you're not really focused on life, or you don't see things the way I do, or you should, or what is happening within reality. And so supposedly the benefit of opening the third eye is going to enhance that intuition and those decision-making skills. Now, we can also say you're going to have a deeper connection to self and spirituality. Who wouldn't want that? Who would want to possess a deeper connection to who they are? Because oftentimes it's the search, is who we're trying to be. In fact, supposedly it's why we come here in the first place. This is why we chose this particular side of life within Earth realm that we're searching. We're trying to create this ascension and become better and better souls each time that we reincarnate or come back for the new experience. But we also want to develop a greater understanding of your life purpose, your values, the connections to the universe. I think most people, you hear it within the motivational community. Oh, you got to find out what your purpose is, and then you've heard some people say your purpose is what you say it is. You can literally claim your purpose. If you say I want to be here and be a born freaking killer, then just start killing folks, and you will now have a purpose of a killing machine. And maybe you be good at it that you become a serial killer, and then all of a sudden nobody catches you. I don't know, but you can create those purposes. And yet you may have came here to be the next Beethoven, and yet you decide to change that. But once again, it's all about getting that deeper connection. It's all about that. Now, would I say this is some high strange stuff? Absolutely. This is part of high strangeness. This is why this is not ordinary conversations or ordinary things, or maybe the average person who's walking around have no freaking clue. I would love to go out on the street and take my camera and be like, hey, what's your third eye? Or do you know anything about that? Or do you want to activate? And I'm like, third eye, what the hell? And then they pull out their glasses and say, well, I got 4 of them. I don't know what the average person would do, but I would assume that many people walking around have no recollection, or, that this even exists, or there's an opportunity to do such a thing, to maybe enhance their life by developing a greater understanding of their purpose and values and connection to the universe. Now, when we talking about connection to the universe, that can be just as far-fetched as anything out there, because most people are out here saying, well, why should I be connected to the universe? What is that? Or, I'm connected to Jesus, or I'm connected to God. And therefore, it's not the universe. Now you're talking about metaphysical versus spirituality. Well, one of the same. But the whole point I'm saying is that context can take people into different places when it comes down. I think that another part of this is supposedly the other reason to activate the third eye is going to be improved clarity and focus. Sharpen your mental acuity, helping you concentrate and navigate through life challenges with greater ease. There's so much going on in this world. There are so many things that are happening that people need help to consume it, to really analyze it, to deal with it, to be able to move past it, that maybe having a higher spirituality, having a higher sense of self, or maybe seeing things in a different perspective, where you may think this is just one of the biggest threats of your life, and maybe over here you go, wait a minute, it is horrible, but that's life. And now that I know that's life, it's going to pass soon. It's going to go through. I just need to deal with it head on and not run from it, and it continues to chase me. And that could be something that happens all the time, and people are saying, and so I'm just throwing this out there for you to really grab and ascertain when we're talking about this third eye stuff, because just hang in your seat. We're going to get to some flaws in this thing. Just stay there a moment. We're going to get to why you shouldn't be doing this, and we're going to discuss some of that, and then, of course, as always, I'm going to give you some reasons to activate it, or how to, that I think that you can practice and do. So it's your choice. It's your free will to take yourself beyond where you are, and maybe take yourself, and we talked about astral projection the other day. All of this stuff is part of the thing. Another benefit is greater sense of peace and well-being. Experience a profound connection to inner self, reducing stress and promoting emotional balance. Now, how important is that? Very freaking important for you to want to figure out how to balance yourself, how to take this emotional life and roller coaster that we're going through on a daily basis with a fucking D, and really put it in a bowl and put a lid on it so that you can deal with it and it's not just pop up all over the place. But oftentimes, that's not the case when it comes down to do this. And as I promised, why activate the third eye, now I want to get into more of a cautionary tale. I want to get into a few things that we could think about if this is something that you want to go down the path is. And number one, overwhelm. Okay, this can be overwhelming. Don't make no mistake about it. The influx of intuitive information and energy can be intense, leading to confusion and anxiety. See, this is not for everybody. This is not for the faint of hearts. And I'm not saying that everybody can't handle this, but all of a sudden, it's like turning on a faucet that was leaking, or something. You ever seen somebody working on the faucet and they trying to stop a leak, and then all of a sudden they break the pipe, and all of a sudden it just now it's worse. The water's everywhere. It's more pressure and flow. So imagine you have a leak in your mind right now, and it's just dripping slight information to you. Oh yeah, it can cause a puddle. Oh, it's the problem. It's okay, but you can maintain a leak. But when you open up that valve, and all of a sudden that valve began to spill and spew out all of this unstoppable pressure, and we're going to relate that to things that are happening, it can cause some anxiety. It can cause some pressure. It can cause confusion. And now you done open it up. What do? You ain't going to shut it today. It's open now, And so I always say your mind is like a parachute. It works best when it's open. You can still have an open mind with a parachute, but what if you land in the wrong spot? I'm just using all these as analogies so that you can understand it. And make sure y'all hit that like button. You're talking psychic sensitivity. Now, you may become more aware of energies and emotions from others, which can be draining if it's not managed. Some of you will say that you're empaths, or you're empathetic people, and you can feel the energies of other people, whether it's negative or positive. What if that's a little too much? What if this world is full of negativity? What if and I think it is. What if you all of a sudden start walking down the street and you can just feel the pain? Imagine going over to some war zone and you're feeling all of the pain and energy of the people because you have now awakened or activated this heightened intuition and sensitivity within yourself. Can you turn it off now? Do you want to turn it off? Now all of a sudden you can't sleep because you're hearing and sensing and receiving all these information and downloads and messages throughout the cosmos. What do you do? I was talking to one of our moderators and stuff, and she was just saying how she was looking for messages and things that she was looking up and stuff, right? And because she's an empath, and now all of a sudden, now she has to find the answer, and she can't stop until she find the answer to all this intuitive things. And so what if it drives you fucking crazy? Because it can drive anybody crazy when it comes to this. And so what do you do is the thing that I'm saying when it comes down to all of this. And that psychic sensitivity, man, is nothing to play with it. So we're just saying energy can be intense. We're saying opening up this and activating this third eye could be confusion, anxiety. We're saying that opening up your third eye could bring in this psychic sensitivity. Oh yeah, it sounds pretty. It sounds, I want to know what people are thinking, but feeling is totally different than knowing what somebody's thinking. Just sitting there hearing people's thoughts is nothing compared to hearing people's feelings. Do y'all remember the movie Powder? If any of y'all remember that movie about the little boy that was, I think he was just pure energy, but it was a great movie. And he just had this empathic and psychic ability and all of this stuff. But one of the life lessons that he wanted to teach those people that was out there hunting the deer wasn't what he said they couldn't see what they were doing. They couldn't see with their natural eyes the pain and suffering that they was putting on those animals while they was hunting. So what he did was he touched the guy, engaged and touched the deer, so then the guy can feel the power. He can feel the energy in the psychic sensitivity of the pain that this deer was feeling. And now the emotions was so powerful that this guy couldn't handle picking up a gun again. He couldn't do, and he was one of the best marksmen out there, but it wasn't about him seeing that deer suffering. It was about feeling that deer suffering. So if you're going to open up and activate this third eye, and all of a sudden you're now empathic and you can feel people's emotions, be cautious. Be very freaking cautious, because it's nothing to play with. It's all I'm saying. It's nothing to play with. Another part that I will say is distorted perceptions. Now, this is something that I talk about all the time, which is kind of one of those deals. If the third eye is not balanced with grounding practices, we talk about this all the time. If you're here, especially if you go watch Liz and Billy, grounding is a prerequisite when it comes down to this third eye. You better ground. You better ground before you even just decide to think in the morning. You know what I'm saying? So grounding is like the foundation of everything. And if you ever, and maybe you're not, but if you visit their home, you're going to know everything is grounded, from the bed to the pillows to whatever. It's all grounded. In fact, they might just tie themselves up to some wires before they get into bed. That's how deep that grounding philosophy is embedded in their everyday principle, which I agree with it. I got a grounding mat. I got one that I put on my feet when I'm working in the office. Sometime I'll just take my shoes off and sit if I don't get a chance to go out to the grass and all of that stuff. But you definitely want to put yourself in a grounding capacities, because as other people are saying, it ain't no joke, man. You want to be able to do this. But if you have what we call distorted perceptions, if this third eye is not balanced with grounding practices, it can lead to misinterpretations of reality and even hallucinations. And this is where I tell people to be a little more cautious, especially in our community. If you don't really can trust a person, especially, for example, I would say cosmostrology, which is David G. Y'all know that. I've gotten to know him personally, and I know his not just work ethics, but his thoughts and processes into what we're talking about. And so I don't let a lot of people do readings for me or a lot of this, because if I don't know that they have a good life practice, then how the fuck do I know what they're now interpreting and telling me is going to be legitimate when they could be malfunctioning because they're not grounded themselves, or they haven't calmed themselves, and now all of us, it's a lot can go wrong when that energy or the thing that they're trying to tell you is a message that you got to be careful with this, when that message probably was for them, because they're not grounded and they're not in their ways of studying and their ways of putting out, and they just give you some wrong data or spiritual data. Oh, that's some effed up stuff. This is when you use that saying, stop lying, whatever, because do you imagine the power of a person that is doing these type of things, that are leading people? And we all know what happened to the young lady, and it's a sad story when we talk about the eclipse stuff. But this lady had a big following. She was doing readings. She was doing all these things for people, and under distress probably when the eclipse was coming. But imagine all these people who was connected prior to, and that energy and that misinformation, interpretation, that anxiety that she was going through prior up to that date was filtering in through their empathic lessons that they was getting. Man, this is no joke. It is no joke. So you have to make sure what we're talking about. So again, if this person is not grounded or they're not going through, now you get misinterpretations of reality. And now, but they telling you this is your reality and this is what's going to happen. And today you should go put your foot in some water and feel the power. And all they really told you was you're going to get electrocuted. Who knows, right? I know that's a little far off the note. I know I just went a little deep there. I'm not trying to lose anyone there. I know some people will get away from here, talking like that, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm saying the cautionary tale of this. The other part, what I think is one of the most important factors as we move on into this and get deep, is the part of I call ego inflation. Now, we deal with this all the time, okay? And I know this for a fact, okay? Ego inflation, when it comes down to people who have that third eye open, all right? Listen to me closely, because you can identify this if you pay close attention. The experienced heightened of awareness can sometimes trigger a false sense of superiority or spiritual bypassing, where one avoids dealing with emotional issues. Now this person is now it's here, and they're looking down on the rest of the world this way, but really they got the issues because they felt, I don't open my, yeah, you see it, you can see these things, but if you don't reflect and put yourself into the shoes of some of this stuff, now they're out here walking the walk, talking the talk, but the shit that they're saying is not any truth to it because it's not right. It's off a little bit. And this could be anybody who is not the shadow work of things, and all of a sudden they activate these or go through the pineal glands and open this activate the third eye under distress for situations in their life, and they're not using it to compound it to be better, but they're using it now because, oh, I can see, and I see where the world, oh, your ass is oh, I'm gonna check you out, I want to know if you negative, positive, and I don't know, it could go there, but be leery. The ego is something you don't want to play with. Girlfriend of Base says, she says, I think people with the ego don't have their third eye open. They want everyone to think they have it. Okay, that's a fair freaking assessment. That is a fair freaking assessment, because that is a possibility. Why we think that they think it's open, but it's one of those things that they're not. So that's a fair assessment. We can go with that a little bit. I think that while we think the third eye offers incredible potential for growth, it's important to approach this awakening with respect and caution. Like I said, we have to. Now, we can get into a little bit of how to open it, and I can go into that, and we can talk a little bit about the pineal gland. I have all of my instructions and stuff right here for you so that we can go through, that I have all put together for you. And some of this stuff we will skip. We will go through because I think it's more of a discussion than anything. And then a minute, I'm not looking for, I want some people to share their experiences. I think experiences is a lot more deeper. But if you have an experience of opening this third eye, or thinking that you open it, or while you thought you was opening, I want to know some of the visions. I want to know some of the images that you saw versus what you didn't think. I want to know all of that. I'm not, I know some of you have the lesson of school, but that's not, we're not here to do, I don't want y'all be here for no coaching course. I'm not doing that. I'm more experienced because I want people to understand the high strangeness that you may not believe it, that happens in our world and in things that we talk about. And so I like to kind of keep those type conversations. But if you are somebody who have experienced that and you want to share the experiences from it, then come on with it. Let me know in the chat. I'll put a link up and bring you in a little bit to share this with the audience as a tactful learning process for some of them. But also imagine have access to a deeper level of knowing, but also being confronted with your own shadows and fears. See, now this is something for you really think about. On the flip side, you're going to have access to a deeper level of knowing stuff, okay? You're going to have access to a deeper level of this stuff, but also you're going to also see and be confronted with your darkest, you're going to be confronted with things that you may be a little cautious to say, can I deal with this? Should I deal with this? Are you ready for that, though? Are you ready for that? So that's something for us to think about. That's something for you to think about. And I just think it's something that we could talk about. But again, imagine having access to a deeper knowing, and that discovery of knowing, you find out that you may not be a very good person. You may need to reflect on some things. You may need to make some changes. You may need to grow in some areas, or you may not be that what you think you are. And then you may make a self-discovery that you're more than what you are. You're more than what you've been led to believe. You're more than what somebody's been holding and compressing in your mind, that you ain't sugar honey iced tea, and when you are the sugar honey iced tea. That's a big difference. Yeah, quote that. I just made that up. That was great, right? I know it was great. That's how we flow. You know what I'm saying? Let me say that again. You may find out why somebody telling you that you ain't sugar honey iced tea. You find out that you are the sugar honey iced tea. Yes. We're going to put that on a shirt too. But, all right. But the whole point is, something for you to think about is the true spiritual awakening involves integrating all aspects of yourself, both light and dark. You have to bring the light and dark within this. And now it's a big deal. So we go back to the square one. Should you activate your, third eye? Is it worth it? What would you benefit from? Why even do it? Why not just walk around? If life is okay as it is, why open it? Is there a need? Should somebody open it because now they're trying to better their life? Or that's the biggest question for the scholars that's in the room out here. Why should, not if, why should somebody open their third eye? Even though, because there's bad and good, tell me if someone was to call you, one of y'all out there who I think that got information, and ask you, should they open their third eye? And what would you tell them? And especially if they say they fear some dark secrets and things. Do they need to see the dark side? Would you stop it? Would you not recommend it? Would you say, nah, don't do it, man? I always hear you talking about, maybe just wanting to hurt people, but you may just find out in your past life or this life, or no, it's not looking into regression, but the whole point is you may find out that you're a natural born killer, dude. So should somebody do it? Astronomer Anthony says, I would recommend it. Okay. Bucko said curiosity opens the third eye. One Heart said it's about elevating the soul, but not everyone should need to do it. I understand that. Philly Cat said I never had a choice. Okay. I don't know what you mean by that. So I don't know if your third eye, you just woke up one morning and it was open. If that's possible, I don't know if that's what you're saying. But someone says follow the white rabbit, Alice. Okay. I get that. The Neo thing. So but there's a lot of people, if you go reference to that movie, that follow the white rabbit, and then what was they doing? Turning against the people and saying, I wish I never did that. I wish I never would have unplugged. I wish I would have stayed unwoke, because now I'm living this life. And although the other life was the simulation, I like the simulation life. I can taste and eat steaks and all of that stuff. So he was like, I wish I had never opened it. And so if you remember that particular point, one of the things that people talk about is spending time in nature, with physical exercise. We talked about that before, or seeking guidance from experienced mentors is something I think people should do. But then when we come back to this again, is that person grounded who you're listening to? Because you don't know what they have been dealing with today. And they just may not follow or practice what they preach. And then all of a sudden you caught up because, they got the statistical stuff. So I think these are things that you might want to explore on your own. These are things that you may want to go read up and try to get a better understanding, and try to navigate yourself. Now, I'm not saying that you should go with this with an untrained eye, cliche, but I'm saying I think it's something that you want to pay a close attention to. Tribal says the elders in my culture always taught us that an open eye is possible in the good, evil, or indifferent. Okay. And Anthony says some people in life path make the open it by situations by they have. Okay. All right. So that's cool. Because I get this question all the time. People will be like, man, I want to awaken, or I'm asleep. I want to be woke. Or I'll hear other people say, oh, I'm woke, and I'm like, how do you know you woke anyway? Because you could just be a part of sleep that you think you woke, but it's still a level of sleepiness, and you're just not woke. The conscious community, by far, like I said, there are some good people in it. There's some great teachers and thought leaders and all of this, but there are some people, again, have created another form of segregation to people when it comes down to someone else don't know and a lack of knowledge. And then there's some people walking around still to this day. And those are the people I would want to really hear from. Those are the people that I would think that you want to hear from. You want the person to tell you, man, I opened up my third eye. God dang, I wish it was still closed. You know, man, shoes. Oh, yeah, I saw this, but that over here, this, oh, man, I wish I never known this. And I've said this before. And I'm beginning to think this, and not so much as my, saying that this is how it should be. But as I start looking into this UFO, this alien stuff, this mind wipe, this MK Ultra, and you start uncovering all of the truths out there, and you start hearing all this stuff, you got to once, at some point, start to think that whoever decided to mind wipe us, maybe they knew maybe it was for some of us own good, or some of you all, or some of humanity. Maybe it was the right thing to do, because some of this stuff can get so much, again, as we talked about earlier, sensitive. It can be overwhelming, anxiety, and then we're still here searching, and now we're uncovering the truth, and you're starting hearing that now there's demons and there's portals, there's life and underground, overground, within the realms, before other frequencies and dimensions and all of this stuff. It's like, whoa. I just had a life that I woke up this morning and ate my Cheerios. And now you telling me even a Cheerios got another dimension? That somewhere I'm eating Fruit Loops instead of Cheerios? I'm just using it for example, but I'm saying I'm starting to believe that there was somebody's choice of saying, knowing and saying, let's shut this off to these people. All right. And I'm not saying it to the ones who are now accessing those and now making it work for them, and now seeing life is grander. Good for you. Okay, good for you. And I'm saying that, but maybe everybody can't handle that. Stepdaddy said that's like saying slaves shouldn't read. I'm not saying that, but I get the context that you're using as far as reading. But if in those books there was some stuff that the slaves would have discovered about themselves, and not so much to empower them, but the truth that something else was negative, then you would ask yourself, should they read that? Should they go into that, and everything else? It's almost like what we have in Christianity today that I'm learning, that, the story and the true story, or the truth. It was no different than watching the Planet of the Apes this weekend when I went Saturday and saw the movie. It was all about the fact that there was some truth that the other apes, and one particular ape, knew about, that the new apes didn't know about, and was saying he don't know if they can handle the truth, or if they handle the truth, what would they think? And so it's no different than what you're just saying as far as them opening books. It's almost like some of these things was pretty much. JL said, mind wiped entering this planet. Okay, so, all right, we have that. Lillian said, I've seen images in my mind and experienced some things. We're talking about this. I want you to share your experience and everything. And then, like I said, but this is a short show tonight, so I'll bring people in and out the best I can. But I would love to some of you share your experience and just kind of go through the enlightenment of what is happening. And if it's something negative, we want to know that too. We want to know it all, and pretty much goes through those things. And so, coming to the stage now, we have my guy David G in the house. And so, what's going on, my brother?
Well, first, man, just to talk about the spiritual awakening and how it really correlates with the third eye, man. I went through a crazy breakup in my last relationship, right? And so I'll never forget this. I was in my game room, and I remember having to make a certain decision. I won't go into detail just due to time. And I was watching Stephen Greer speak about UFOs and things along those lines. And I remember feeling something roll up my spine. And it felt like, like when you're like in Texas or something and it's real hot and you're staring out into the abyss and you can see like the heat waves. It felt like something pulled up over my face. Like, that's the best way I can put it. Right. And ever since then, I remember just like being into a lot of different things. Like I was into the UFO stuff, and like my hands are getting sweaty as we talk.
Okay, all right.
And man, like after that, man, the conversations was just different. And I remember having a conversation with two of my friends, and I had this download that was talking about something called clairvoyance and clairsentient and thing along clairaudience. And I was hearing a whole different conversation within a conversation. Like they were talking about something, but it was like I was hearing a higher perspective or a higher octave of that conversation.
Okay.
And so ever since then, I was having vivid dreams of certain things. And then I remember feeling my third eye open, because when it opens, you can feel, it feels like it's hard to explain, but you can feel like the roof of your mouth, and anything like in this area, you feel it. It's really hard to explain the feeling, but it's almost like you're high, but you're not high. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
And it's very, very, it's just hard to tell you, you know what I'm saying? But in between this area, you do feel it. And even when you listen to certain meditations, it gets more tense. It gets more intense as the feeling. And honestly, I'm not going to say you can't control when it opens, but at times it opens on its own merit. You know what I'm saying? It's like the spiritual realm just does it for you in certain instances. You know what I'm saying? And they want you, it's kind of like it's recording something, if I'm being honest. And so that's kind of what my experiences has been like so far, just at a general level.
Now, did you experience any dark side of things though? Anything you had to face deep?
Yes. A lot of the subconscious programming came up to light for you to see. For sure, it came up to the light for me to see. Just different conversations. You're looking at yourself in the mirror when you're hearing conversations. It's actually about yourself that you don't want to believe. It's a lot of those things, and it's uncomfortable. You know what I'm saying? But that's why everyone doesn't. I don't know. Maybe that's why everyone doesn't do it. Maybe they know they have to look in the mirror to an extent. But I definitely just embrace that, and I'm not afraid of that. But people do have to know it's not always peaches and strawberries. You know what I'm saying? Especially when you can feel these energies and you can see beyond the veil. Like you really do hear things, and you can't always control when you hear certain things. Like you just can't. Like it happens out of nowhere. So, and every day you wake up is different. You're being guided every single day. So
wow. Man, I appreciate you sharing that, man. And now, do you do any trainings like that on your site, or people personally? Or, well, I know you're learning, but do you go into some of that?
Yes, I do. I do train it. I meditate. And when honestly, if you're like in the military, we were always trained to look through someone instead of looking like directly at them. And in a sense now, because since my third eye opened, I can be outside, and if you just focus on the third eye without blinking for about 15 seconds, you can see everything vibrating around you. It looks like a grid, you know what I'm saying? But it's really everything is just vibrating at such a fast pace, and you kind of see it. And once you see it, you're like,
well, what I mean is, can people come to you for help with that? Do you do this? Yeah.
Yes and no. I won't say yes because I'm not like a professional, because I just got over my dark night of the soul. However, I can definitely help people who have it open and don't necessarily know what to do with it. You know what I'm saying? Which goes into your energy, how you take care of yourself, and really trusting your intuition and stuff like that.
And how do they find you, for the ones that don't know?
For the one, you could follow me on all my socials. I'll put it in the comments, my Linktree link. And also I have a YouTube channel called Cosmic Astrology. It's the same name you see on here, so you can just hit the follow. And I do talk about this. I talk about these things. I do tarot and all type of stuff. And yeah, man, if you want.
All right, well, y'all hit him up, man. He's part of our inner collective here, so y'all definitely hit him up. But like I said, I do recommend him for your tarot readings, and I'll stamp on that one as well. All right, brother, we'll talk soon.
Yes, sir.
So what's going on? So you've had some third eye experiences?
I believe I have. I'm not as good as that guy, but
don't.
When I was young when this happened in my 20s. So last night, not last night, but Friday, Freaky Friday, when I said that I saw the alien head in the bedroom, is really when a time I was reading books on meditation and the third eye and all of this. And so I was practicing opening the third eye, looking into the third eye with your eyes closed, into that area. And when I would get quiet and really just concentrate, I would see like a starburst.
Right.
It looks like just a big starburst. And then it would turn maybe into just a round, glowing dot just in your forehead. Your eyes closed, but it's in that area.
Right.
And then it got to where some mornings I would wake up and then open my eyes, but when I close them back, I could see images. And I want y'all to see one image that I saw. Can y'all? You all can't see that.
They won't be able to see it through their phone on the screen, though. So
you can't see that either?
See something with his hand spread it, but it's going
to that image on real. You see that?
Yeah.
One morning I saw that image. It was a red background. You know how your eyelids, red. And then I saw that image. I've seen images. I'm not like that guy who could see frequencies, but I have seen things like this. I saw that that big skeleton head.
Right.
And let me can y'all see that? They can't see that at all.
No, they won't be able to see it.
Okay. So the reason why I had read this book, Communion.
Mm-hmm.
And when I read that book, I started experiencing the things that Whitley Strieber was experiencing. So one of the things that he was experiencing was it felt like that I guess they were trying to open his third eye, and he could feel something moving around like a feather right there. I felt that one night. I was,
Wow.
Then another thing I felt is he said communion. So one night I could taste something nasty, like somebody was giving me something nasty to eat. Okay, so I tasted that.
Mm-hmm.
So then say another night, and I know people laugh about this, but I did feel like they were probing me in the back area.
Okay.
The back area. And it hurt. And so it's like whatever I was reading was happening to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if that has to do with anything. And then the last thing was when I saw that the alien face in the room. So to me, open that third eye, you have to be careful and kind of really know what you're doing.
Hang on 1 second. Moderators, I need y'all to moderate in the chat. Go ahead.
To me, you need, I wish I would have had like a teacher, someone to guide me.
Mm-hmm.
Because I believe you open up yourself to a lot of things, seeing things that you wouldn't normally see.
Mm-hmm.
You're feeling things. Somebody sitting on your bed, laying on your bed. So there's a lot of things to that. And I don't know. I don't think it's just as simple as open up your third eye. I think it's you should know, learn.
Okay.
It would be nice if there's a school
Well, it is. There's a lot of people that teach it, but we got a couple of more people here. So I appreciate you popping in, and we'll talk soon. And thank you for your stories. All right. Mr. Yak, Dr. Yak. We're gonna say doctor. All right, my brother. What's going on?
Dr. Chuck. Hey, good to see you, brother. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, brother.
Yes, sir. Yeah, this is an interesting conversation. I can only talk to you from my own people's cultural ethos here in the Yucatan. And the Yucatan is Belize, Guatemala, Mexico, and there's like a free zone area where there's an area they call Nosh Coxmeen, called the Forest of Healers. And here, a lot of the teachers, what they teach about the science of opening the third eye is that the most important thing is grounding. There's a lot of concern. I just went to a major conference in Guatemala where there's a major concern about the different spiritual practices and things that people are conducting in urban centers. And they're not getting out into the natural areas where the grounding is more supportive of something like opening your third eye or like higher spiritual experiences and things like that. And it's almost like from what the elders are explaining, it's like a ball of confusion that's just sucking everything in and causing a lot of destruction in the whole human diaspora. Culturally, the opening of the third eye is highly connected to plant medicines here.
Okay.
Certain plants are priests. Like one of the things that people don't understand is that they look for eldership in the human chain, and they don't understand that the human chain started somewhere. So the tree supports the human, right? So therefore, if a tree is 1,000 years old, 1,500 years old, 2,000 years old, that tree is in all actuality is an ancestor. So there's a lot of different connections and things like that, and a lot of nuances that I noticed going from culture to culture, especially indigenous cultures. I have experience in South Asia, here in the Yucatan, some of in some of the areas of the Americas. So it can be a dangerous thing, opening the third eye without guidance in major urban centers.
That was exactly what I was trying to the reason I put this live stream together, because I hear so much about it, and just to kind of throw it out there, we got Monica here next too, but I didn't have y'all heard me when I paused and said moderators get the chat, and I had just talked about one of the biggest problems that we have in our community is the ego that people get that think. While one of our persons was telling their story, someone else in there, oh, your eye not open, you this. And I can't find why my moderators didn't catch it. We got 4 or 5 of y'all. And then all I said was moderators catch it. And that particular person knew I was talking about them and said, oh, I'm gone. I don't need moderation. We got to catch those things fast enough, because they're ridiculing. She immediately was like, she's better than all of you, the rest of you, because she knows that now this is too low of skill for her. That's the problem that I said it exists, and it surfaced right in our context, where people who think they woke all of a sudden is looking down on everybody else, and they're just all it did was amplify the inner side of who they really was, which ain't sugar and iced tea anyway. You get what I'm saying? And this is what we got to be careful with when it comes down to this. And it just happened right in real time.
And I'll say one thing, and I'll fall back. What you're saying is very important. Humility, the way that we approach these things, linguistic nuances, those are so important. because there are things, and I have to tell you, there are things in the English language and concepts that can't even be translated into the English language. It will be hard for you to experience it, for me to explain it to you, and you to experience it without me bringing you into my ethos and you bearing witness to it. So there's a lot of blocks. The English language is a colonizer language anyway. So there's a lot of blockages in the way that things are portrayed, in the English language, and a lot of misconceptions in spirituality and the way that things are being, transliterated in the English language. And bless up, brother. It's good to see you, man. You're looking good.
Man, we got to talk, man, because I am making plans. And I know you done talked me out of it. I want to come to believe. I want to give me some ocean property. And I know you like, dude, stay away from that ocean. You know what I'm saying? But I got another friend who's and she done bought some property. But my goal between now, well, not now, but next year, I want to come over there and I want you to help me because I want to, just come back and forth there and do some fishing and some stuff. But anyway, I appreciate you, brother. We'll talk.
Yo, bro, the ocean's good. The thing is that I just put myself on where the ocean's gonna be.
Well, you got a YouTube channel too, so put it in the chat where everybody. Oh, he said I'm getting ahead of it. Put it your stuff in the chat so everybody can find your channel, brother. All right, so next up we have the greatness of Monica, and then we got Mara. So Monica, I've been on you all night tonight. So
I know.
You know what I'm saying? So,
luckily, I was awake.
About time. Yeah.
Luckily, I was awake. I mean, because
Hey, well, it's good.
I was in the other realm. If I'm asleep, that's what I do. But yeah, this is a great topic, and I think a lot of people don't understand that they have spiritual body parts.
Okay.
And that pineal gland is one of them.
Okay.
So I guess I kind of, let's see. I had I'll call it an episode that, just like David is saying, sometimes it happens by accident. If you think of it this way, it's like if you're training certain parts of your body, say like if you're a soccer player and you're just doing drills, like drilling for kicks and passes and stuff, and then you do a practice game, and then all of a sudden you hit that shot and you're like, whoa, like what happened? Kind of that's what happened to me. And it happened not last year, but the year before last.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a situation where, and I'm gonna throw in a little bit of biology here. So there are certain substances will cross over your blood-brain barrier, which means it will, like, we have a digestive system that breaks down certain things to keep us from being like killing ourselves, poisoning ourselves in general. But then there's some substances that will cross over the blood-brain barrier, and alcohol is one of them. And that's why there's always controversy over how people use alcohol. Like, do you do it? Do you not do it? They call it spirits for a reason, that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I had been, working my way on not being an alcohol drinker in general. Like, I still partake every once in a while, but I'd been on a really long dry streak for a long time. And then I went out with some friends to celebrate a birthday. We had wine and dinner and stuff. And I actually, left the event pretty happy, carefree, getting ready for work the next day. I turned on like my humidifier for, steam.
Mm-hmm.
I most likely probably had it on too intensely because I woke up the next morning getting ready for work. And I just did not feel like myself. Like I didn't feel, I guess for a better word, grounded. I didn't feel like myself. And I, went into work. It was almost like I was watching myself in a movie being myself. And as I was getting ready for the day, I kind of, again, mentally had to be like, okay, do this, do that. Like you're watching yourself in a movie. And I got to work And I let I work at a school. So I went into work that morning and I told my parapro right away. I was like, I'm not really feeling that great right now, so maybe I need, to eat a little snack or something and I'll be fine. And we were also doing our school assemblies first thing in the morning via Zoom still. And I already have a keen sense of hearing.
Okay.
Normally, and a lot of people get kind of scared at that because being a musician, I'm like, yeah, I've had fine-tuned my hearing. I had not anticipated that. I know I've also been able to what I like to tell people, I can hear electricity. When I was little, I used to say, oh, I can hear electricity, and kids can really hear that, by the way. But my hearing that day was so keen that when they had feedback in the auditorium, like almost 20 feet away from my classroom, they had feedback on their Zoom. I could hear not just the feedback from the Zoom itself, but from the auditorium. So it was like, it was so intense. Like, and it wasn't even a sound, but it was a vibration. I can feel the sound and not just hear the sound. And I reacted in such a way, like it automatically triggered my fear response, because that's usually when people make those sound bombs now that they have.
Okay.
They're activating people's fear responses. So that's what happened to me in that moment. I had to at least leave the classroom. So I kind of excused myself out of the classroom, even though I felt like I was like literally being rattled apart. And by the time I got into the hallway, luckily another teacher was walking by. I was like, I need help. And so she helped me to the front desk. And I was literally having a panic attack that morning. Wow. And so, yeah, it was that intense, because I had opened up all of my spiritual body parts and hadn't known that I'd done that and didn't ground myself.
So grounding is really important.
Yes. Oh, yes.
All right, so we got the greatness of Mara, and then we will have Precious Mother Love next. Mara, what's going on with you?
Hi, I just want to speak about my third eye experience.
Okay.
So it was about 2, maybe 3 years ago. I was laying in my bed. I was already woke, like whatever you people know as being woke. So I'm just minding my business, laying in my bed. I went to sleep, and I knew I was not dreaming at this time, because I'm really good at vivid dreaming, so I can like get out of my dreams if I'm not comfortable. I have like a trigger point where I could just get out of the dream. But at this point, it wasn't that type of dream. I was up when I was laying in the bed, and I'm like, I'm up at 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm looking in the room, and I'm thinking everything. My eyes are actually open. I'm thinking my eyes are open. Then I realized it's kind of like astral projection. I looked, and my legs, I realized I was laying in the bed, and I realized my eyes were closed. So I'm like, how is I'm seeing this room? I see everything that's going on in the room, just like if I was woke and my eyes were open. So that was my third eye. So you can actually see like you see in real life. I believe some people can see more, but at that time it happened to me really vividly at that time. So when my eyes were open, my third eye was open, because I was still asleep. I was looking in the room. So if somebody, I tell everybody this when I tell them this story. If somebody would have broken my house that night, they would have saw me laying on that bed sleeping, but they wouldn't have known that I actually would have saw them with my third eye. Luckily, nobody broke in my house that night. But as everybody know, mirrors, and some people know, like television is portals. They're a form of a portal. So when my third eye was open, I have a big screen TV. I looked to my right, and I saw a figure that came out. It wasn't a ghost figure or a shadow figure. It wasn't nothing that was spooky, but it was like it looked like a shadow of a person. Like if it was a person, and they went out my TV, and the person was dark, but it looked like a form of a person, like you could describe the person. And then I have a mirror on my door, and it went out my TV and went straight in the mirror and disappeared. Like it just went through a portal. And then I instantly went back to sleep, and then I woke up at the normal time, and then I was just like, I was freaked out about it, but in a good way. But it was a lot, and I just told my son. He's 15 years old. I have a 15-year-old son, and I was just telling people about this, and it's still a lot to take till this day, because I'm still trying to figure out. Like, I be joking with my son. I'm trying to figure out like who was that shadow person. But when I think about it, it looked like it was somebody I actually knew in person. But I can't explain it, or I don't understand it. I have to get somebody that has some more knowledge than I do to explain on a deeper level what that was all about. But whatever it wasn't like an evil presence or anything. It was just, I was stunned of actually seeing the room when my eyes were closed and I was still sleeping in the bed.
Wow.
So I just wanted to share that with people so no one can think no one is crazy. Like, you can literally see out of your third eye, and you can see, and I really believe like people that are blind, even though it kind of get off subject, but people that are blind, when they say, oh, I can see, or they either astral projecting and they saw it, or they literally seeing through their third eye. So that's all I wanted to say.
Well,
Another thing. Huh?
No, go ahead.
Another thing for those, I agree with everything you said in the beginning of the show when I was watching. For people that I don't think that you should tap into that if it's not for you. So what I can give people knowledge of is, you can find out if you went to palmistry, if you know how to read your palms, or if you know somebody that can do that, they can teach you. They can let you know what access you have in spiritual realms where you can access, where you have access to, and where you shouldn't be accessing. That's how I learned like my accesses and stuff, because I read my palms. So if somebody want to know, like, if they can tap into certain type of spiritual knowledge, they can get a palmistry done by somebody they trust, and they can let you know that information.
Oh, cool. Well, I appreciate it. And you got a YouTube channel and stuff as well, right?
Yes. My name is listed the way it is on here. So if you type that in, you can find me on YouTube. Yes.
Okay. All right. Y'all make sure y'all look her up, and pretty much, and I appreciate you coming in. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So now let me unmute. Let me undo that. We have Mother Love in the house. What's going on? All right. So, so that was Precious Mother Love, and her internet is just like banging gone. And then on our end, it's pretty much static and stuff there. So maybe next time we can get that bandwidth. Yeah, we need that bandwidth. But anyway, I just wanted to share this information tonight. I wanted to kind of hold it into a conversation, because once again, we hear all the time that it's something that everybody is suggesting. Wake up, and put your third eye together and all of that. So I just think it's something that we have to really decide if that's just something we want to do, and pretty much, and that's one of those things that, again, we can do. In the meantime, all right, love you, peace and love, everyone. Hug everyone. Do all the great stuff that you need to do, because we are now going to be out of here, and we're gonna head where we're going. And that's it. I'm just jabbering on. I'm really jabbering on. But good night.
Why did Ruby shoot Oswald? Was there a conspiracy?
In a world shrouded in darkness and obscured by deception from the big secret keepers, a burning question ignites in the hearts and minds of truth seekers. Why? Let's dive into the abyss of the unknown. Challenge the limits of our understanding.
This bizarre sequence of double killings raised great questions. Who actually fired the shot that killed Kennedy?
Pierce the veil of secrecy.
Cattle found dead and the manner of their deaths are a real mystery.
Anyone who is concerned about lead in the drinking water in Flint.
And venture into the realm of conspiracies and extraterrestrial evidence.